me, I have my co-host, Ms. Datha and Dave. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to have you back with us. In fact, I'm glad to be back, right?
I know. It's been busy.
Yes.
A lot.
Right. October is traditionally a very busy month during the year. We got all kinds of stuff going on. I know you've been busy lately. What's some stuff that you've been having going on I haven't seen you? Where you been?
I've been at home and with children. I've been children in it. You
yes.
know.
Well,
that's a time-consuming thing.
Yes,
children.
it is.
By the way, we're filming in front of a live audience. So if you hear laughter in the background,
we have a live studio audience right here, right off to the side.
That's
right.
They're gonna laugh and clap. And
some friends, some family, basically, right?
Yeah, but
my
it's
friends,
an
your family.
subject that we're talking about today. Today, and they're like so into it.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Very timely subject we're going to have today. We are going to be talking. We have a very special guest. We're not. He's a guest, but also he's a guest host, and we're going to introduce you to him in just a second. We're going to be talking about zombies today, right?
Oh,
yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. And what a great time to talk about it this time of year in October.
That's right.
So we have Halloween coming up. We have all the scary stuff going on. So I know we got the 13th gate, which is in full operation, right? Have you been to the 13th gate yet?
Dave, I have irregular heartbeat.
Oh no. She's always got an excuse, guys. Always got an excuse.
Look, I watched It the other night. That is the only clown. And I'm going to tell y'all, that movie
It, right.
scared me so bad. The only part of that movie that really got me was the balloon.
Right. The balloon
I'm scared to death of balloons. That clown is so fake, though. He is so fake.
Right.
He's so fake.
So what about a balloon scares you so much? Is it a latex? Is it like the squeaky
it is the fear
sounds?
of it will pop.
Popping? Ah, right. I knew that. Popping.
He pulls the thing out of the thing, and it's like, I know it's coming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, and he pops it, and I'm going,
right.
I hate balloons.
Right.
They scare me.
It's not the pop that scares you, it's the anticipation of the pop. Right. It's like whenever you, it's not the fall that kills you, it's a sudden stop.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
It's
exactly.
true.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right. Well, that's hilarious. Well, I did not know that. That's something interesting to know about you.
Yeah, I'm scared to death of clowns.
Well, I did not know that.
Just not yet.
Right. Well,
it could be because they carry balloons, too.
Okay, so that leads me to our next thing. So this coming Saturday, November 2nd, we're going to be at Rax, right? What are we going to be doing at Rax?
Oh, we're filming the Halloween costume contest, and we did this a couple of years ago, and it was
we did.
really
Oh,
fun.
it was.
Do you remember
Wow.
the clown over there?
I do.
Man, that dude scared me.
I was about to ask you if we have a clown, please interview the clown. If you have one, please, and get real close to him.
I'll interview him. Real close,
Get real
Dave?
close to him. Yes.
Man, if he's got balloons, it ain't happening.
Right.
I will see.
Right.
I will see. But yeah, we're gonna interview people.
Right. I cannot wait to see the costumes people are gonna have.
No,
it's gonna be really
it's
cool.
Fun. Every year we go.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I remember we saw DJD, Dylan Ainsworth, one of our good friends. He got married.
That's
right.
right.
Right. And he said he had a crown on. Remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember what he was?
He was Burger King.
He was a Burger King.
Yeah,
right.
he was fun. I liked him.
So you asked him, you got a crown on your head. What are you? He goes like, I'm a king. You go like, what kind of king? He said, I guess Burger
King.
Right.
I know, it was fun.
Right. So it's all every year we have like different costumes that come out and people get more creative. I cannot wait to see what's going to be out there. So and another good thing is we're going to be seeing our fans out there.
Oh yeah.
So anybody that sees us out there, come tell us hello, take a picture with us, even get an autograph. We'll have some cards. In fact, Breeze is over here. Breeze, can you bring us one of the little brochures over here, our little cards on the table?
Yeah, look right there on the binder.
And let Datha look at that. Datha can have it, and she can show
one
everybody.
at a time.
Yeah,
like
so
avalanche, like Stampede.
Look, so before we get like really, really big on iHeartRadio, big like Joe Rogan, we're gonna sign these cards, Datha and I. So you can have your own signed card, Dave K Show, right here. We're gonna have a whole stack of these.
It's gonna be worth money someday.
It will be, yes.
Yeah.
Frame this, don't lose it.
No, don't. Just put it in a Ziploc bag somewhere, because then whenever you get back and we get really, really famous, you can say, you know what? I got that live.
Yes, right.
Yep.
That's right, exactly right.
fun.
That is really, really cool. So another cool thing that happened was we made an appearance at the Harvest Festival this year over here in New Rose, Louisiana. It was a great time out there, a lot of people out there. So tell me about your experience at the Harvest Festival.
Oh, I've met a bunch of neat people. They were very fun. I love giving the prize out.
Yes.
They had this little boy and his friends.
Oh, yeah, right.
Y'all.
We'll roll the video in later and show you.
Oh, he was so cute. His name was Ace.
Yes, he was really cute.
He was cute.
I've never seen anybody. We gave away $20. I've never seen
$20.
anybody that happy to get a $20 bill in my life.
She was walking pretty fast.
I think she was happy just to meet you.
I know.
With the Dave K Show.
It was funny.
So that was hilarious. So we had a great time at the Harvest Festival, and
our audience over there has a lot to say.
They're being kind of quiet, being kind of loud over there. Kind of be quiet back there.
We have two additionals. My nieces are here, so they're kind of hyper, just a little bit.
Yes. And so what else we have going on? We have the Harvest Festival going on. We got Halloween this weekend coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So
Halloween will be fun.
Why don't you tell people to be careful out there?
Yeah, y'all do be careful. Watch candy. We don't want Candyman out there.
Yes.
Be careful what just be aware of your surroundings.
Exactly.
Don't, have fun.
Yes, right. You want to take them trick or treating, do whatever you want to do. That's fine. Everything.
Yeah,
just
know
make
your
sure.
subdivisions.
Yes, exactly. Go to people's houses that you know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you stick with the normal plan every year routine, you'll be fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Get as much candy as you can. Get as much candy as you can because this stuff has got to last a year. That stuff is not cheap.
Yes, that is the truth. That is the truth. Absolutely.
Like
all right.
$15 for candy.
Yes, that is the truth. All right, so we're gonna go and push a couple of our sponsors here and our promoters, and after that we're gonna introduce our very special guest. So put a plug in for our regulars here, Datha.
Okay, we have Point Coupee Banner. That is our Point Coupee Banner, y'all. Colored photo newspaper that is at your local retail. I think they're $1 plus tax if you go buy one. Pretty cool stuff. Check it out. Got all your gossip on it. Then you got your pointcoupeereporter.com,
yes,
which you can look on the web and see all the gossip. It's interesting. You'll like it. I promise.
Absolutely. All right. Without further ado, we're going to introduce our very special guest. And Datha, take it away. Who do we have in the studio today?
Derrick Poirrier.
Boom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 1-5. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yes. How you doing, man?
Doing? So, got an interesting show today.
Yes.
We're going to be talking zombies.
Yes.
We're going to start a little bit. We're going to start a little bit of history first. That leads into the modern pop culture as we know zombies.
Yes.
Because, like anything, in order to know pop culture, we first got to know the origins.
Mm-hmm.
And origins, fascinating enough, goes all the way back to Sumerian text. Sumerian text talked about zombies, and it was basically saying that in the end times that they would rise up and their gods would raise them up as punishment.
Interesting.
Then you go into the Chinese culture, and it kind of goes back into the supernatural realm. And it was basically kind of where your burial rites come into play. And in Chinese culture, it was more of, okay, if you didn't bury your family members, that a vengeful spirit would come back and would eat the flesh not only of the family members, but go after the community by and large, because it wasn't just about the family members, but it was about everybody that they knew. So it was a holy vengeance that would make somebody reanimate. So, and that's where the first origins of rites of burial, rites of everything, and the strict orders. Then you go and you flash forward into the Viking era. The Viking era, it was called the Draegr. The Draegr is the closest resemblance to what would be the modern zombie, but this guy was really fascinating because they said he would come and would be somewhat more intelligent, but in order to bring him back to a grave, he had to be lured into a grave by a hero. So your average warrior wasn't able to take the Draegr down.
So there's a story behind this type.
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah.
But still supernatural at this present time. Then you roll into Western European around the 12th century, and you run into the Revenants. This is the early Christian church time period. And the Revenants is getting now more so closer to the modern zombie of the flesh eating. And if you look at 12th century Europe, you're also looking at around the period of the bubonic plague and everything else. So now you're starting to tie disease and supernatural. Well, the other aspect that you have to look at is in the time frames that we're talking about of pre-Renaissance era is that science hadn't quite caught up. So how did we as human beings and how did us as cultures determine and describe many of modern ailments? We described them as supernatural events, like the bubonic plague or the Black Death. We described it as something that came from a supernatural origin. They would seek out people that they believed that were involved with the witchcraft and blamed it on them. So it's like all these things that we say come from legend or come from myth, it has origins in legend, which is very fascinating. So you keep going down in that history's journey. You look at Arabian culture, they have a zombie, but this is where you have a moral code to it. And the moral code is if you led a bad life, that God's way of punishing you was to turn you into a ghoul, which goes to and leads to modern culture. Because modern culture, George A. Romero's zombie was named the ghoul. So But the ghoul was somebody, usually a woman like a prostitute or a man that was a murderer or something of that nature, somebody who did something absolutely vile.
Right.
They retain a human-like nature to lure in other people that did not do the right thing. And then once they lured their victim in, would turn into a monster and then consume them.
Interesting. What is really interesting to me is that all these cultures around the world have the same common theme of zombies.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Correct. And now where our modern, and when I say modern, I start with 19th century, where our modern concept of zombies come from, it starts out in the first film is White Zombie,
Yes.
which is 1936.
Yes.
And
36.
Correct. White Zombie was based on the Haitian rituals, which comes from voodoo. And the voodoo zombie is where you have either a freshly dead individual or somebody that's easily manipulated, that a voodoo witch basically turns them into a mindless slave. And the movie White Zombie, that's what that was based on, was that happening to a white couple that was visiting Haiti. And it placated on you're less than 75 years from the Civil War, the end of slavery, and it played into those fears of those times. So then in 1967, George Romero starts making his B-list movie, and that would be known as Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Or,
Yes,
sorry, Night,
right.
Night of the Living
Night of the
Night
Dead,
of the-
which
well,
which
they're
kind
all
of
the same.
spurred a lot of films after that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first span where we go into our modern zombie culture. And the modern zombie culture that he created, which was he obviously did his research, because he called his zombie a ghoul, which comes from the Arabian culture. Now, what separated his from the supernatural world was his was a train derailment that an unknown chemical had spilled, causing the dead to rise.
Oh, ooh.
So-
Like
Right.
Pet Cemetery.
Right.
Kind of. So at which point, and what was fascinating about George Romero and his franchise of zombies was there were so many political nuggets in his films. Like if you look at Dawn of the Living Dead, for example, Dawn of the Living Dead, where's it out of? It's out of the mall. And he placates consumerism into his film, because all the zombies go to where they know, and where they know is a mall. All your survivors hold up in a mall because that's where all the resources
I'm not
are
going
at.
shopping anymore.
Hey, Amazon.
But you do need to be buried in nice clothes and shoes, just saying, because if you come back all warped up, at least your clothes will look great.
Right.
Right.
With Night of the Living Dead,
Not a mall, too.
your hero dies in the end of the film. One of your heroes, and your hero was a black man. And what that placated was the civil rights movement of the time. So every single one of his films not only had the fear of the undead, but it also, he had those little nuggets of the culture of the time, which made it a very fascinating films, because you could see both how he showed what was going on and how he felt about what was going on, as well as the horror of zombies. And when you stop and talk about what makes the zombie genre of films so scary, is it the fact that it's a possibility? Yes, that is a very key one. That is a possibility. But unlike any Hollywood monster or any legend or myth, is that the zombie doesn't just go after one individual. It goes after our entire civilization as we know it, because it's a unrelenting force, a horde, which comes from the Mongolian definition, that comes after everything. Comes, and it's unrelenting. It's nonstop. It has one sole purpose, and that's to feed. And it placates on primal fears that we have. Everybody has a primal fear of death. Everybody has that primal fear, and everybody has a primal fear that goes back, that's in our gene code since we were cavemen, of being eaten by something else.
Interesting.
That is a very twisty spin to it.
Right. Not by accident either.
I don't want to be slurped down like spaghetti by something this ugly.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And then
Ew. And it
Yeah.
stinks.
Neither does anybody else. That's
And
right.
it stinks.
Yes.
No.
and there's cultural, And then there's the cultural, there's certain cultural unnormals that, or taboos, for lack of a better terminology, and I think it's the best terminology to describe it as, that are just unforgiving. And cannibalism is one of those things. Well, with zombies, that's what they do. It's one human being feeding on another.
Straight raw, man. Don't even
Right.
dip it in butter or nothing. Just
No
straight raw.
No barbecue
Exactly.
No
sauce.
deep fried fingers today.
Right.
No.
Oh,
Right.
And the,
Ooh.
and the fact you're still alive just looking at another person eating you, that's just absolutely horrific. It's like,
True.
so that's
Right.
that's what makes it's not only a thriller, it's a psychological terror, because it's like you have all these different realms that it's hitting you at, and it's a very fascinating conundrum. And you roll into the modern, over 75% of your films have happened after 2001, which was something that was very fascinating to me. And
75% of all films, or just zombie films?
of all your zombie
Zombie,
films,
Oh,
yeah,
zombie
I
films.
noticed that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
like
Yeah.
your record, which is like your Blair Witch version for zombies, Contamination, the latest one, which was Cell, which was a very interesting spin-off of the concept, your 28 days later, 28 weeks later,
Right.
and you can look at Birdcage, yep. And
Bird Bath. Bird Box. I never get that right.
Bird Box is kind of a iffy one, because that's more, honestly, goes to Steve Quell, or not Steve Quell's, what's the writer's name?
You don't know what that is, do you?
No, I don't. Not familiar with that one.
It's a Sandra Bullock movie. It's on Netflix.
It's a Sandra Bullock. It's
You gotta
basically where
blindfold
everybody starts
yourself.
committing suicide if they see something.
Yeah.
And it kind
Ah.
of goes back to, I'm trying to remember the writer's name. I want to say Steve. No.
Maybe Timmy can look up in the back.
But there's a film a few years ago where it was the plants exerting a certain pheromone.
Yeah,
and
I
everybody
know what
was
you're talking
killing
about.
themselves.
It was called, it was Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he was on it.
But
That was a good movie.
Yeah. Wow.
but I want to say it was Steven Spielberg that directed that, and that was a good film
Yeah.
as well.
It was stupid, though. The end, it was stupid.
Yeah,
Well-
the end was stupid, but
Well, off the get-go, it might sound stupid, but there's always something behind these big blockbuster films. I
yeah.
mean, there's always a message behind it. So
Yeah, it's called
Oh.
population control.
yeah, if you
Right.
well,
Well, Clifford, you're going to bring them back as zombies. What's the point in doing population control?
well, the thing is,
Where zombies kill.
well, the most
Well, yeah, but they're still alive.
Who's still alive?
The zombies.
Right, but they're killing people that are dead, though.
I don't know.
well, it depends on what type of zombie you're talking about, because, like, for example, the George Romero zombie or the Walking Dead zombie, there's no time limit on the zombie, and what I mean by that is, if you notice the Walking Dead zombie, even as it continues to decay, it's still roaming,
Ew.
still nonstop.
Like, you can't smell
Is-
that coming a mile away.
Right. The only way you can stop it is literally by removing the brain box. It's
So chop his head off.
or shooting it, chopping his head off. Do what
So
you
a
gotta do,
headshot is the only way
All
to
right,
go.
people. In the zombie apocalypse, we might want to invest in machetes.
Yeah, machetes.
Yeah,
Or,
decapitate them, shoot them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
I think it's so
So-
much easier than having to get guns, because if you got a knife, it's done.
Well, you got to get close to them, though.
That's okay.
So you
I'll
got to
start
get within arms.
swinging.
You got to get within arms distance. That's kind of too close for me. I don't know.
Machetes are big, though.
Well,
yeah, but you got to
know.
remember, guns. You might see that one, but you don't see the 500 that are
Yeah,
around the corner.
yeah.
True,
That
you
as
ran
soon as you
ammo,
pull the
right.
You
trigger,
know
it
what
comes
you need
around.
to do?
What's that?
Build yourself into a cylinder block wall. Unless they do this ant thing and they can climb on top of each other, they can't climb, though, Dave.
You mentioned that on a
Hey,
recent
World War
episode.
Z.
I should
Yes.
have watched it.
World War Z.
They were climbing
on
each other
top
like
of each
ants?
like ants, and then came over the wall.
Face
So
facts.
You
We're
mentioned that
joined.
last episode.
That's
a while
why I
back.
said you got to depends on which genre we're talking about, because there are so many rules that have been written and so many rules that have been changed over time. It's like which kind of zombie do you?
I'm gonna
deal
tell
with?
you. I'm gonna tell you which one's gonna take the world out. It's the killer deers.
The killer deer.
I just have this funny
Wow.
feeling that's gonna be what takes us out.
Wow.
Well, that goes into what we'll talk about here in just a few seconds, which is the concept of possibilities.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everybody has a hype, and that's what makes the genre so entertaining. Is it's the closest to possibility and reality, because through researching everything, It's like, is there any possibilities, realms, or parallels that makes the zombie hypothesis possible? And
yes, there is.
In reality, there is, because if you look at, for example, the Amazon rainforest, rainforest, there is a fungus that, in order for it to grow, it has to be at the top of the rainforest.
Is that why they burned it down?
I don't know, but it can't be at the bottom. So what it does is when it releases its spores, it hits the bottom. Those spores then get ate by a certain type of ant, and when it gets eaten by the ant, it changes the chemical makeup. And it basically
ants is scary. That's a good horror movie.
It takes root.
It's amazing.
And the ant, instead of staying on the ground where it's supposed to, it goes up to the top of the tree. And by that time, as it's gotten to the top of the tree, the spore has nestled itself where it needs to do. It's taking the nutrients from that ant.
And explodes him?
And it explodes.
What?
It's incredible.
That's a good horror movie.
It is on a smaller scale.
Yeah, it's a smaller scale, but
Invasion of the big ants.
But for lack of a better terminology, it's basically created a small zombie, because the ant is doing everything that it's not supposed to do against its own survival nature for the purposes of that fungus.
Does it eat other ants, though?
Interesting.
It does not. But
Good question.
But
Yeah, because like zombies eat other people, so it's like
Right.
But look at the concept Cell, for example. The last zombie movie that's come out of Hollywood was Cell. And Cell was based on the premises, but it still fits the genre of zombie, because zombie by definition is you no longer have control of yourself.
True.
That is the genre definition. So the last movie Cell came out, it placates into everybody being mindless and controlled by our handy dandy devices.
Right.
Well, that makes sense why they call it
technology.
cell, because it is a cell
Right.
phone.
Yes. Right. I know.
And
right.
it's
right.
a signal that is emitted by phones that makes everybody
Interesting.
mindless.
That's why you can't sleep that close to it.
What a parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Right.
All right.
The Bluetooth signal.
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
wireless,
yeah.
yes.
Totally
Right.
take you out.
You're right.
Totally take you out.
Don't do that. Or put your phone in your lap while you're driving. That's a big no.
Or in
especially
your
if a man-
bra. I have
That's
heard
another
horror
thing.
stories
That's
of
another
that.
thing. Yes. Right.
Bad
another
stuff.
thing. Yes.
So then there's prions, which prions I don't know enough about them to be so-called to speak a whole lot on, but prions are more dangerous than anything else because they're harder to treat than viruses. They're passable in water sources,
Flesh-eating bacteria.
Wow.
flesh-eating bacteria.
That's another one. Yeah, big thing. That's horrible.
Population control. You know, back in
That's
the day, they
horrible.
never had that.
You know, you never used to.
No,
think
you
about
could
it.
walk in the water
Yeah.
with cuts all. Your head could be
That's true.
halfway off, and you never
That
get
is so
flash
true.
feedback. Oh, it's
Yeah.
everywhere.
It really is, and the
You
results
said-
are horrible.
Was it you that said it was from the deep water thing?
Correct.
Right.
Yep, Deepwater Horizon. Yep. I mean,
Yep.
And
yep. Right.
then you have
Bad stuff.
Yes.
Then you have your virus possibility, bacteria possibility,
Bacteria is really
Right.
bad.
That's
yeah.
what's going to get us.
and
Right.
then chemical weapons and then modern technology. See, and I clump those four together, and the reason why I clump those four together is because of modern technology, and also because we are our own worst enemy.
Right. That's true.
And what I mean by that is I'll use the Cold War for an example. During the Cold War, both sides of the Iron Curtain, proverbially speaking, said that there was no way for us to adequately invade the other side and gain control of the population. They had developed plans, but part of their plans and process was propaganda campaigns. And the CIA, everybody knows, tried to create MK Ultra mind control experiments and everything else. And part of that, and part of the reason for those programs was to how to project that on mass populations and gain what would be a hostile or adversarial population and get it under control. Because you don't expect to have a large population of communists turn Republican or Democrat overnight. So with that being said, they're like, okay, how can we do this? So they experimented with LSD, they experimented with sound waves, they experimented with all sorts of different things. So it's not foreseeable that in other black book and black projects that they would experiment with chemical weapons, that they experiment with virulence, they experiment with bacterial weapons. Now, not to say that one side's darker than the other, but the Soviets had no problem playing with chemical weapons and biological weapons and mixing Ebola with smallpox
Who knows
and
what's
this
still out
and
there
that.
with that?
Exactly, because when our labs, for the most part, shut down after the Cold War. on the other side, their labs never shut down.
Didn't they just have an explosion at one
Yeah.
not too a couple
Yes,
of
they
months
did.
ago?
Yep. Sure
Yeah.
did. Yep.
Ooh, creepy.
So when
Yeah.
you stop and,
Smallpox.
when you stop and you think about that and that possibility, could a nation state or an adversarial organization like an Al Qaeda
Take us out with that.
come out with a agent that could control a population? Absolutely, they could. All it takes is the one wacko to get a hold of something. So that's what makes it so fascinating. Because is it beyond the realm of possibility? No. All it takes is the right intelligent intellectual person. Because like, look at nuclear fusion and nuclear technology. That was discovered by Einstein. Nuclear energy was discovered by a woman 100 years before him.
Right.
And everybody called both of them crazy until the atom bomb was created.
Right.
And then it was like, wait, they weren't crazy. So it's one of those deals. So is it possible that you have it from that realm? Possible. Now we have stuff where we're playing with gene splicing and organism playing with. We're going to places of the Antarctic and we're pulling blocks of ice and we're finding bacteria that shouldn't be messed with from the prehistoric historic zones. And what you call, and they're like, okay, we found this new X disease that we don't know exactly what it does.
But we're going to bring it back and test it.
But we're going to bring it out and test it and see what it does.
Cabin fever.
So technology and what we do is our own worst enemy.
Right.
And now we're coming out with CRISPR technology where we can start gene splicing. And when you start playing God, if you look at every...
Well, it never ends well.
Yeah, transhumanism.
It never ends well.
No, it never does.
It never does. So
let's stop there a second because I want to go on the CRISPR thing a little bit more because I did a lot of research on that too. It's incredible, the transhumanism thing, which is absolutely amazing, where they're messing with people's genes, intersecting insect genes with human genes.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, because they're looking at enhancing like human species 2.0 pretty much. So have you heard? I'm sure you heard. Have you heard? They've taken cow milk and actually cow DNA and spliced the genes with spider DNA and made super strong cow milk that comes out.
With a spider?
Right, with a spider, right.
So what if I drink this? I turn into Spider Woman or something?
No, it's creating things from animals that you wouldn't normally have on the regular species because they intersect the genes, which is
correct.
And it's scary. Like the chimeras are. If you see a picture of those, they're scary. I mean,
I just don't think that's a good idea.
No, it's not.
Kurzweil was a big promoter of transhumanism. The keyboard guy, Kurzweil.
Well, the thing is, if you know the outcome, why are you going to consistently?
Well, you don't know the outcome.
Yeah,
you know what you want the outcome to be.
Yeah, but
you don't know.
If you read enough, you know what the outcome's going to be if you keep doing it.
Right.
You can't do stuff like
you don't,
that.
No.
Well, it's like the famous saying goes: "You play with fire, eventually you're going to get burned."
That's
It's not a question of if; it's just when.
Well, the flu is a prime example of that. You're constantly coming up with vaccines for the flu.
Right.
Which
The flu
aren't
is getting
Which aren't
stronger
effective.
and stronger, and
Right.
it's starting to take people out now, whereas before it wasn't that bad. So now you got this highly aggressive, very potent flu floating around.
Right.
That you're going to get a vaccine for that. What's the next?
Not going to do any good.
Right.
It's going to end up taking the flu will be it.
Well, you say that. If you look at historics, okay, the Black Death killed 14% of the European population. Believe it or not, the Spanish influenza, which was H1N1, killed more people during World War I than trench warfare and than anything else of that time period. And there's two reasons behind that. One was because all your developed nations pretty much destroyed themselves, so their infrastructure was down. And two, the ability for us to transit the Atlantic and to cross borders was at a new level. So when you start talking about virulence or bacteria or any other type of viruses, we have a new capability to spread disease now that was never around. 50 million people in America died from the Spanish influenza.
Right.
So, and people get stuck on, well, our government would be able to do this, that, and the other. I hate to break it to you. If a new bug comes and pops overnight, it takes time to develop different vaccines.
Right.
It takes time to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
It It takes time, and depending on, like you said, people. Well, just before the show started, you said some strains of the virus takes 2 weeks for it to show that it's in the system.
That's
but
right.
you're steadily spreading it out.
Exactly.
Well,
So
you
you don't
right.
even know.
Exactly.
So if I get infected, hypothetically speaking, by the flu from you today, and I go hop on a plane to London
That's
tomorrow,
right.
and I'm now spreading it out everywhere I touch, everywhere I grab,
Yeah.
and so on, such and so forth.
That's like the measles outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you
Right.
get these vaccines, and they're infecting you with the live
right.
virus for
exactly.
starters.
Yes, they are
That's
right.
bad.
And
Right.
see,
Yes.
if you read
Yes.
hypothesis for The Walking Dead, that's what causes the Walking Dead zombies, because the
flu vaccine?
no, the
Oh.
vaccines
Or just the virus? Or,
vaccines in general, because
I can see that.
the writer of the comments geniusly never stated exactly what caused it, and he left it to the person's imagination. However, there was little nuggets and clues all throughout the deal, but the biggest one that the CDC was at the CDC when Rick talks to the doctor. The doctor says it's in every single one of us, and when somebody died, they reanimate it. And it's like, what's in every person that's born?
With that,
Vaccination.
and
See,
you
that's
got to
it.
think everybody that's buried, all that goes into the water supply. So
Correct.
technically, you're drinking vaccines on a
yeah,
daily.
because caskets leak.
Think about it.
Right.
All
Yes.
of us are being polluted with our own pollution.
Correct.
Yes, it is.
So it's like all the modern enhancements and advancements that our society has done is our own, sometimes
It's
our
going to
own
be our own
worst enemies.
downfall, yep.
Yes, it is.
True story.
That is absolutely incredible. It
Boy,
really
that's
is.
scary, isn't it?
It is very scary.
We might be zombies and not even know it.
Right. Well, so the whole zombie thing is an exaggeration of the things we're talking about, and it's
Correct. It's almost like it's a amplification of all the horrors and all the fears that our society projects. And what makes it fascinating for our society now is if you flip on the TV today, there is a major disaster with our economy coming. There's a major disaster with global warming coming. There's a major disaster with a global war on terrorism that's now in its like 20th year about to be.
Right.
So it's like when you look at it, it's like it placates on everybody's worst fear.
Right.
It placates, so it's almost like
It.
the it. You described it. It's the
right.
it.
Right.
By
So-
the way, it's not scary.
No spoilers, huh?
It makes
Just
it
a
makes,
balloon.
Yep, it's just a It makes for a great psychological thriller, and then it also makes you question your morality as a human being. It makes you question your morality as a society, and no show, no movie, no organization, no book has done it better than The Walking Dead, because
right.
like if you look at how the whole series has progressed, you go, okay, wait a second. It's group against group. It's brother against brother. It's society at its
Wow.
it's falling apart.
Look at those
It's
parallels.
It makes you realize that you can't really truthfully depend on the government, because even once the frameworks of the government falls apart, you're going to have government entities starting to tear apart at each other.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and that's the truth. Look at Katrina. You had organizations that
case
couldn't
in
even
point.
get along.
Right.
So
Yep.
when you stop and you realize that that token and that totality, and you got some people, well, I don't think it'd really be that way. Well, stop. It's like you look at, for example, and I'll use this as a prime example. You go up on YouTube and you go, okay, which side are you on, Negan or Rick? And they'll be like, oh, I'm Team Negan, or I'm Team Rick. Well, why?
Right.
Well, this one was bad. This one was
I was
good.
Team Jacob, just saying.
There you go.
Really? Vampires?
No, he's a werewolf.
Whatever.
Right.
But anyhow,
Only Datha, y'all. Only Datha.
Yeah.
so with
That's why we love her.
with the show, it really makes you question your morality. And my argument was always, I was a Team Negan guy, and for two reasons. One, when you stop and you go from the beginning, you have to literally go from the beginning of confrontation. Who was the first two people that came in contact with Negan and Negan's crew? It was Abraham and Daryl, and they had the fuel. They had the fuel truck. the crew that he came across was like, normally we just bash somebody's head and make an example of somebody, but we're going to cut you a break. Just give us a fuel truck, and you have a nice day. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a few other choice words, but that's generally how the conversation went. What does Daryl do? He lops an RPG and kills everybody. It's like, wait a second, you drew first blood. And then they go to this another dude that's like, hey, look, we'll pay you if you go ahead and take out this satellite station. So it's like, okay, strike two. You killed these people, and you didn't expect that Negan was gonna come back at you. Come on, dog.
Right.
So, but everybody's like, but Negan does all these horrible things. He's like, yeah, he kills one or two people to make an example and say, hey, look, you either join us and make a larger group that can work together, or you buck me, and then I'm gonna deal with you accordingly.
Right.
And sometimes you have to have a heavy fist to make an example and say, don't mess with me.
Or a loaded gun.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Teddy Roosevelt used to say, walk tall with a big stick.
Yes, he did. That's right. He sure did.
Till you trip over it.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know.
Poor Teddy.
Yep. So Walking Dead, I guess, is like the current, the big thing about zombies that's in pop culture right now.
Oh,
I've
absolutely.
not watched it yet. I need to.
You need to start from season
I'm totally into Supernatural right now. And Netflix stops it at 14 seasons, so I'm like almost over, and I don't know what to do with myself now because
Well,
I'm almost over with it.
So you've watched all of them so far?
Yeah.
Well,
so
then
you're
you
up
need
to
to
date.
start Walking Dead.
I'm going to have to start Walking Dead.
Yeah. So what do you recommend she starts at the first season? Or
Yeah, she's got to start from season 1 and go all the way up.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah, you can watch it on Netflix. Hulu, I think, has it as well. But
I don't have Hulu. I just got Netflix.
I'm sure it's on
Netflix is where
Netflix.
it's
Yeah.
at.
I'm sure it's on Netflix. Yeah.
I'm about to check it out.
Absolutely. Now, Thomas, he's up to date on Walking Dead. Saw every episode twice. So and he's like addicted to Walking Dead.
My wife is a fanatic. Like she's already watched the episode that's coming out, and I'm like, don't spoil it. I'm watching it tonight. And she's like, but you're really gonna like this one because I'm like, shut up.
It's a spoiler. You're a spoiler.
Right. That is great.
Ruin this.
So I remember
to watch it.
the last time the whole zombie pop culture thing came up was when Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yep.
And that was the peak in the 80s. So,
That is a good song, jam it.
And that's
the
probably,
neighbors usually jam to that, but they might not be jamming this year, but they usually do.
Yeah, they're going, right?
Right.
So then I could be doing that for a while. But anyway, that's another story. But so that was the big thing in the 80s. And after that, I was doing some research. Really, the whole zombie thing kind of waned after that. You never heard much about zombies
because
after
it was
that.
Halloween, Freddy Krueger,
Yep. It was-
Jason
That was another big-
Voorhees.
yeah, Nightmare on Elm
Those
Street.
are the best of the best of the best.
They were, yeah,
But
classics.
you
yeah,
have to think about
Up until the last Halloween.
if you look at the 70s and 80s, why was Stabber so prolific? What was the prolific thing in the news?
Well,
that era was the era of the serial killers.
Ted
yeah,
Bundy?
that's right,
Ted
right,
Bundy,
right,
you
right.
had
Playing on our worst
Charles
fears.
Manson?
Charles Manson.
Yes.
So
It's
Playing on our
genius.
worst fears.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
Hollywood and the horror
Interesting.
genres, if you look at what's popular at the time, it's what placates on the population's psyche, what placates on the psyche.
That's
It's
why I
such
said-
it's genius.
Right, like I said, you might have thought that thing we talked about was kind of stupid or whatever. Toward the end of the plot ending might have been stupid, but the film was there for a reason. It was to bring those ideas into the forefront.
Yeah, and it's true.
Right, and play on your idea.
Because that was a
fears.
very detailed movie, and it did entail that the government had something to do with this whole. It was plants, like you said, causing people to kill themselves.
Right.
But
And it was creepy though.
right, but like I said, it was all based on real stuff that they're trying to bring to the forefront. You know, for
Yeah.
sure. That's very interesting.
I think it ended up being that you had to stay calm, and it didn't bother you. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard for me because there's no factor in my life that's calm. So I'd probably be the first one out.
Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
true. That
I'd be
movie
the
was
first
one
made for you.
And you couldn't stay in groups.
No,
No.
but that's okay because I don't have a big group.
And see, that goes counter
smart.
Is it
to any
true?
other survival mechanism because us as a society and us as a species, we want to be a communal species. We want to stay together.
Well, some of us do.
Yeah,
Some of us are loners like me.
You got the
my goodness.
occasional outsider, the occasional lone wolf, or
Me?
the occasional guy that's just like, you know what, I'm gonna go off in the woods and build me a
Eat
weird
bark,
shack and
eat those
But-
big killer ants.
Right, but there's safety in numbers. You got to remember that. Safety
Not in
in
this
numbers.
movie. Not
No,
in this
I'm
movie.
talking about your
no,
life.
in that movie,
Not in this movie.
Right. Well, I'm talking about your personal life, as I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
I have
Their
3
safety
kids.
numbers. Their safety
My
numbers.
safety is with them right now.
Never be alone.
They
Never
chase
be alone.
everybody away. No, I'm
Well,
joking.
you have a small circle, so that's good.
That's my little circle of trust.
If you have enough people to make a circle, that's all you need.
That's all I
Right.
got.
So, right.
I have my little circle of trust.
Then you're good to go then.
Stay in it.
Hand out the chainsaw, the flamethrower,
Right.
2 micro
Hey,
Uzis.
if I needed to, Riley is a crack shot. Trust me. That girl
Great.
can hit a tin can
Awesome.
off a pole like nothing.
Well, that's great. Well, see, so
She gets that
you're
from her mom.
you are geared up to go watch these movies, and you're safe because you have your circle of friends. You
Not
got your.
if, not if
you got-
Michael comes after us.
Well, no, you got your.
you
got
can't
your,
kill him.
Well, no, you can't. But it's all in your mind.
And it,
Y'all need to watch Matt.
if
Be-
he pops a balloon in my face, I'm done.
Y'all need to watch Matt Best if veterans were in horror movies. You can take out Michael.
Could
Just
I?
shoot him in the nuts first.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
but he had that happen and he still bounced back. The last movie they did with him was such a letdown. Because, like, okay, so Mustafa or whatever his name is used to write him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alfonso or something. I can't remember his name. Total genius. Okay,
The
Michael
writer?
Myers, best. You know he died because the movie went to crap.
Mm,
They
right.
take Michael, one of the characters, Michael takes and he lays him on the ground and he's got him like half dead. He takes his foot, steps on his head and squishes it and jelly beans pop out.
Cool.
Why? Jelly beans.
What?
Well, no.
Interesting.
I'm going to say Mustafa was good, but Rob Zombie just started redoing the Halloween series.
But
And
jelly beans?
have you seen Rob Zombie's remakes?
No, I've only seen the first Halloween that he just did like a few years ago.
He's done a heck of a job. Of course, anything really Rob Zombie puts his hands on.
He's more graphic too, more
yeah,
blood.
he's more graphic.
He's
but
like
he
Quentin
does a
Tarantino.
yeah.
Right.
He is really,
Right.
really, really good when it comes to what he puts his hands
Yeah,
on.
he's definitely got
Well,
the gore down.
Well, the thing is, if you can pull that off and show it, then you're a genius.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
most of that stuff is better left to the imagination. But if you can, like,
We
you
need
know,
new Jason movies. We need to. Well, we can't
Some
do Freddy
Jason
Krueger
Voorhees.
because he's getting old.
I was never a super big fan of Freddy Krueger.
I like Freddy.
Like,
you know Johnny
the whole
Depp's first
subconscious-
movie?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He was so cute.
Really?
He got swallowed up by his roof or his bed. His
Interesting.
bed, right?
Bed.
Yeah. Oh, he got swallowed up by his bed.
So
He was so cute.
that was his first movie ever. Like, his,
Yeah,
really, that's where we got to start.
that was his coming out
That
role.
is so cool. Wow.
Yep.
I got to remember Hellraiser. Remember that one? With
Yes.
the,
I never
with
watched
the pinhead?
that.
I was going to ask you, have you
Yeah.
seen that one? That
Yes,
was
I've
actually
watched
bizarre.
every Hellraiser. Like, now, here's the funny thing. Like, the first time I ever saw a Hellraiser, I was probably like 8 or 9,
Uh-oh.
and like I looked underneath my bed for Pinhead, like for like the
he's
first
come out
2
from
I
under your
was
bed?
horrified because my stepsister Krista put it on, and she's like, "What is this too scary for you?" And I was like, "I'm good."
Okay,
I'm
that's
good.
Breeze. That's
I'm good.
Breeze.
Right, really?
Yeah.
I was horrified of Pinhead. That little box. I was like,
So for the people out there that don't know, what is the whole storyline behind Pinhead? Is it based around the box, or is it based?
So
I've never watched
the
it.
story.
I haven't either.
The storyline of
Let's
Pinhead
learn.
and I never quite understood the box. Like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat. I still don't quite understand the box.
Is it little or big?
It's not.
Is it
big.
Pandora's box?
That's what I've kind of always put in my mind is
usually-
Pandora's box.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion.
They
'cause
opened it?
in the first one, if I remember correctly, they opened.
Then it
opened
is Pandora's box.
It's got to be
In the
something
first-
in the
in
box
first-
that you
in the
open.
first one, if I remember correctly, they did. But it's always been either a human trying to mess with crossing over into Hell's dimension, or a spirit escaping out of
Oh
Hell's
my gosh,
dimension.
CERN,
Oh, it's
CERN.
supernatural.
Based on real life events, CERN.
CERN?
Yes, CERN.
What is that?
Tell them what CERN is all about.
CERN is the Hadron
Yes, in Switzerland,
Collider
yeah.
in Switzerland that
Yeah.
basically they smash atoms trying to find the God's particle, and they also create what they call
Really?
antimatter.
Really?
Yes, and they
Every
have done it.
time they do it, they create antimatter, and
Is that thing that could like implode the entire universe if they're not careful?
pretty much.
What
Well,
is
basically,
with
particles
people?
will actually go into another dimension and disappear.
Yep.
Why
and
don't
so-
they step into it and see what happens?
So basically, you remember
They did.
They're gonna do
Deja
that.
Vu was a movie based like that. Deja Vu with Denzel Washington.
we played this game on
and what's her name was on it?
Who's that?
Miss Susie.
Oh, Susie
She,
LeBrie.
yeah, she was
Ah,
in the
okay.
funeral scene.
Ah, okay. Hits right here at home.
I see the game emblem on in my head, and you probably know what I'm talking about. It's like
Tomb Raider, Mortal
for
Kombat.
real or for life or something like that. We used to play as
Trying to remember.
kids.
I'm trying to remember.
It's what Portals is based off of now, but it was
Trying to. What year frame span are we talking about? 90s,
it
2000s?
started out in the 90s, but then they came out in the 2000s and started remaking it. But it was basically a research lab, kind of like the CERN, where they were doing experiments and opened up the portal, and you were a scientist.
Is that Halo?
Interesting. Was it?
Oh,
was
no,
it
you're not
Halo?
a scientist.
No,
That
you were
was a good one.
You were a scientist in the lab, and all these creatures started
Interesting.
coming
That
out of
sounds fun.
Wow. See,
Out
that's,
of-
yeah,
out of
that's-
the portal.
That's based on fact. I'm telling you, man. There's another
Well,
stuff
Halo's
just.
almost the same thing. It's a different portal, different dimension.
Well, Halo is space.
Well, that's true.
Halo is space, and then Doom was on Mars.
Doom.
Right. Oh my gosh. Here we go again. Mars. Now we got exploration into Mars
Well, you know
coming
there's
up.
water
So
out there.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, they discovered.
Absolutely.
I think it was the South Pole of.
Yeah, they also said that they
Right.
found a planet in a distant universe that could possibly be an Earth's twin. Now, you
Oh,
really
600
think,
plus of them so far.
Oh, I
yes.
know, right? You really think that they're not
Yes.
out there?
600 plus.
Oh,
We are
absolutely.
so
yes.
naive if we're selfish.
Absolutely,
if
yes.
that's the case, 'cause
We are
we're
not the
it.
only ones. I'm
No.
sorry. No.
Well,
No.
well, when it comes to that, like I've always made the comment that
I'd like to see their
you-
horror movies.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
what?
What?
That'd be funny. Like if we make our aliens look like Greys and they make our aliens
What?
look like us.
Or
I'd be like, what?
what
Right.
if our Michael is not really the guy? We're actually chasing after Michael.
Yes.
And Jason.
Well, if you believe in multiverse theory, that is going on somewhere right now.
The mirror effect.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically.
Definitely. Yes. That is very interesting.
Or what
Much-
we define as beautiful, they define as ugly, and what we define
Right.
as ugly, they define as beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, that's going on
Yes.
Earth too, though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's
you,
kind of
you
a
go
catch
different
22.
You go into different cultures.
But as
yeah.
a species, though, us on Earth, we've got to be probably some of the lowest species in the universe right now, as far as our,
Right up
our-
there with the stink bugs.
Right, our maturity, the way we treat each other,
Right
the
up
way
there
we
with the
trash,
stink bugs.
the way
Oh,
we trash our
absolutely.
planet. I mean, we've got to be some of the most unenlightened people. And the thing is, we only use 15% of our brain, so we are not nearly as enlightened people as we could be.
Had you watched Lucy?
Lucy.
That's the name of it, Lucy.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
I have not
Lu-
seen
Lucy,
Lucy.
she uses like 45% of. Well, she ends up getting to
Oh,
100%, but
wow.
it kills her. Oh, I just told it. That was a spoiler.
Right.
My son watched the movie. It's
I thought
good.
Leave that
it
out,
turned her
Tim.
into God or something like when she got
She
to
was
100%.
like electrical or something.
Wow.
Yeah, she
She
became
was like,
I need to
oh.
check it out. Wow.
She like gets so good at everything. It's what's her name? I can't think of her name now. She plays Black Widow.
yeah.
Starts with an S.
Look it up, Tim, if you can hear us.
Breeze, who plays Black Widow? Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, oh, yeah,
By
Scarlett
the way,
Johansson,
my
yeah.
sister's here, Jenny.
Oh, how you
Shout
doing?
out. Here to pick up
All
her
right.
kids.
Gotcha.
Don't go.
Yeah.
Stay for a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, that's
She's
it.
good on that
is
movie.
it. I got to check it out for sure.
You like it.
Yes,
you
that's
like
really
it.
cool. Definitely.
Yeah, she
definitely.
beats everybody up.
Wow.
Tim says
But,
women can't beat men up. This chick proves him wrong.
Oh, I disagree
I
with
want to
that.
beat her so bad, but I don't want to get to 100%. I'd max out at like 30%. I'd be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
like to be able to use my brain at 100% one day.
You want to turn to electricity?
I'm cool with that.
Why? Why? What happens when your grid goes out?
So think about it this way. This is how you disprove an atheist, right? So an atheist goes that there's nothing after death. Physics tells you that there's no dissipation of energy. Energy just
Yes.
transfers.
Yeah, yeah.
So your body produces 9 volt. I think what is it? 9 volts of energy. Correct me
I'm
if
not sure
wrong?
what the exact amount is, but yeah, it
'Cause
does produce. Yes.
It's because they teach
Yes.
us that in EMR, EMT.
Is that why
paramedic.
when you get out your car, you shock yourself?
Kind of. Basically,
I
that's where
started plucking
well, yeah,
it.
you pick up static
You gotta
electricity.
plug
you
it.
pick up static electricity.
It don't hurt so bad.
That's right.
But
yeah, you got to dissipate the energy.
You look stupid though, but
right.
But that's how you disprove an atheist, because if your body's producing energy and you have energy inside of you, what happens to that energy once you die? It's got to dissipate and turn into something
Yes,
else.
it does.
It has to transfer.
I would say it's better to believe there is a God and find out there isn't than not believe it and
Absolutely.
find out there
Absolutely.
is.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Finally got it right. First try. Look at me, I'm on the roll.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you looking forward to that equation. I'm looking reverse, because it's like before we were here, where were we? Because our energy came from somewhere before we were here.
Correct.
You'd be naive not to think that way. Too many
Yes,
miracles
absolutely.
happen every day. Too many good things happen. It's out there. The signs are everywhere. The Bible, point blank, is proof as it is. They're
Right.
finding stuff everywhere. Noah's
Which-
Ark was just found.
Which, if you look at the Bible, Jesus is kind of like the anti-zombie, because, like,
And
if you
then-
look at Christian texts, it's like in Revelation it says that he will raise the dead.
I know.
But
when the
it's
trump
the
is
whole.
out.
right.
It's like the opposite.
Right.
Right.
It's like, yay, we're celebrating that. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, but does it take
Right.
his body? It's just their souls that raise.
No, he says he's going to raise
It's just the bodies too.
I don't want to
bodies
be.
too.
I hope I'm
You get
not
a new
dead
body.
before he comes. I want to
Like-
be all right. I don't want to be dead when I get raised
Well, why not?
because you're nasty.
Yeah, but you're not here to see that you're nasty, though.
I don't know.
No, it's like you were saying earlier, like
I don't wanna
like
be a zombie is what I'm saying.
well, you're never gonna be a zombie. Come on, get out of here. You're not gonna be a
I don't know.
zombie.
Yeah, people keep getting deer with chronic waste disease. There's gonna be zombies.
I think the more that more that you
look at the swine flu, and she does have a point with that. The swine flu was for I think I read the book. It said 20 years it was in pigs before it actually transferred to humans.
20 years.
And
listen to me. Listen to me good.
So
stuff.
You got chronic wasting disease.
And that's zombies for deers.
That's
it eats their brains.
It eats their brains.
Interesting.
It makes in the second and third stage of the disease as it's creating the lesions and everything else.
Makes them crazy.
It makes them incredibly aggressive. It makes them attack other deers. It makes them go aggressive towards human beings. Everything that they normally not do, like for example, they will seek out other predators and everything else. Now, with that being said, all it takes is that virus to have one enzyme change in it, one more mutation.
Crossover,
it
right.
can easily.
And it can start spreading to another species or another animal.
Right.
Rather, it's going towards mountain lions or coming towards us
right.
or spreading towards.
Well, it's already in reindeer and elk.
Yeah.
And then like tuberculosis, they just found that as positive from deer to human transfer.
Interesting.
So a human got tuberculosis from a deer.
And see, that would be like a disaster of major proportions when stuff
Exactly.
starts crossing over animals to humans.
Which you can't stop it. People
Right.
eat it. Or you
Right.
get bit by it. What happens?
Right.
I mean, it gets in the soil.
Right.
That's a bad thing if it gets in the soil.
Yes, it is. Right.
Then it gets in the water supply.
And really,
that could be why we have flesh.
and really, as humans, we're supposed to actually walk on our soil with bare feet, become part of the earth. Get that foot to dirt.
I'm all right with
stuff
that till
going
the
on.
spider comes out.
Right, but don't look at the bad part all the time. You look at the good. Minus the spiders, you're supposed to put your feet on the ground and get some
I don't mind.
good earth. Go in your backyard, walk on some dirt
I
or
do.
whatever.
We play football outside barefoot.
Good.
We got good grass
Awesome. Good.
apparently because we didn't have no stickers.
That's great. Yeah, it's very, very good to do.
Yeah, I can't do that.
And
I
get
got
plenty of
that
sunlight.
good Bermuda grass, thick, cushiony stuff. You fall on it like a cotton ball.
Right. Go out there, put a little tank top on, get some sun, get some vitamin D going, get your little suntan.
I fell the other day and the kids laughed at me. I got up like, it ain't nothing to it. I'm fine. I ain't hurt nothing.
And those are the things that protect us, like from the flu. Get a lot of vitamin. Why is the flu season in the winter months? Because you don't get much sunlight. Because it's winter, people stay inside. They don't get that vitamin D they're always getting.
Negative.
So you take your vitamin D supplements.
It's been floating around the summertime too here lately.
Right, but traditionally though, it peaks in the wintertime.
That's the thing,
right.
though. That's
right.
the thing about this whole flu situation this year. It is no peak. It is all year round.
Right.
Kids got it when
It's
school
amazing.
was starting.
That's amazing.
Like you said, but usually, what's supposed to happen is between January and Mardi Gras is supposed to be our worst time period.
Right.
It's supposed to be, but.
I mean, look right
things
now. It's
change all the time.
40-something degrees tonight. I mean, is that even
Right.
normal for October? Trick or
It's,
treat, by the way, trick or treat is going to be cold. Be ready, people. 47, 42.
We
I
haven't
think.
had a cold trick or treat in a long time.
I
That kind of makes you
know.
wonder
Yeah.
what the rest of this winter's going to
I'm
speak for us.
scared,
It
man.
has been a while. You're
Come
right.
on, snow. Come on.
No!
Santa, give us
okay,
snow.
look,
If you're just
all
for your
right.
kids, do this for your kids.
No, Dave, let me
Come
tell
on.
you why. Because Ziploc bags are not good galoshes. We
Right.
cannot get gloves like they can up north. You're not prepared for this stuff.
Right. Well, now's the time to order them. Order them now.
Exactly.
You
So
buy
they'll
it on
be here.
Amazon and you know what's going to happen?
It's cheap junk,
Your
I know.
hands will be pink.
No, go buy them in Baton
Or
Rouge somewhere.
orange.
Go to
They don't-
somewhere in Baton
There's a
Rouge.
place
They
called
sell that?
Cabela's.
Yes.
Winter gear?
Yes, they sell winter gear at Cabela's.
Well, they're expensive, though.
Well, it's
I always
worth it,
called
though.
them Calibus. I got fussed at so bad for that. I know what Cabela's was.
Oh, God, no.
I called them Calibus. Look
So,
at Calibus.
I love it. I love your names
What
because
in the heck is she talking about?
you thought Gordon McKernan was Gordon Crawford.
Oh, wow.
Well,
But,
Gordon, you're going to
but
have to come on the show and prove me
yeah,
wrong.
but-
Where's E. Eric Gaylord?
After E. Eric Gaylord, we'll get Gordon on.
We need him.
E. Eric Gaylord will be here soon, I promise you.
Hey, get the E guarantee.
Yes, not the G guarantee, the E guarantee. He'll get you on.
There
Right.
ain't no G
We're
guarantee.
gonna talk about that. There was.
Actually, G does start with guarantee.
Right, it does. There was a G guarantee, but not anymore.
Wonder what happened.
Well, E.
He
Eric
took the
Gaylord.
Lambo and ran.
E. Eric Gaylord took him to the
He
court.
said, "Look, I got my
That's one of those.
Lamborghini, I'm
Well,
done."
see what happened was.
What had
exactly
happened?
Right. right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Well, you ought to dress up as Gordon.
How would I do that though? I could put a suit on. But
Orange
I don't know.
suit, yellow suit, whatever color he is.
That's pretty interesting.
Black
I don't know.
hair.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Who are you? I'm Gordon.
Put a wig on.
Right.
What are you
I'm
representing?
trying
I'm representing your law.
Right.
I don't know it
That's
all, but
interesting.
I'm repping it.
That is interesting. I got to think about that one for a second here. I don't look like Gordon McKernan.
And put a brief.
Yeah, the last time I saw Donald Trump over there, he didn't look like Donald Trump either, but he sure was Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's before he got elected, wasn't it?
I remember that.
Sure was. Everybody was laughing.
Yeah.
And make sure you have a briefcase up there too.
Right.
Yeah. You got to get you a pocket Lambo.
Right.
Got to be white because he's got a white one.
Oh my gosh, that is something.
The pocket Lambo.
The pocket Lambo.
Right.
When you feel depressed, take your pocket Lambo out and look and think. That could be me one day.
Right.
That's gonna be a hashtag. Pocket Lambo.
That's me.
Yes,
That's
right.
how I created that. Copyrighted my pocket.
Yes,
you know,
indeed.
it's
Yes,
not
indeed.
really
That's
going
it.
to fit in my pocket, but you know, it's like cell phones. They just keep getting bigger.
Yep.
So
they do.
eventually, it might be that size.
Hey,
So-
isn't that kind of ironic though? Like, the whole cell phone industry was all about shrinking. Now
I
we're in the
know.
reverse. We're like, let's make it bigger.
Right.
Oh, look.
Yes, right.
The
Trends
new
come
one?
and go.
The new one. Okay.
That's the
They do
11?
not make them any smaller than this.
That's the 11 right there.
Yeah, and this barely fits in my
And
pocket.
you got 3 cameras on that thing. Take a look at that.
Two cameras.
Oh, 2 of them. Okay.
I got the cheap one because the little dude says, all right, I got you 2 of them. I said, why you brought 2 of them out? I said, you know, I'm on a price budget, right? He said, okay. I said, so what's with the gold one? Oh, it's like unlimited battery life, which tells you right there
Unlimited
what the battery
battery
plan
life.
is. Oh,
Wow.
250 gigs of data. I said, and how much does this bad boy cost? $11. I said, stop it
Jeez,
right
for
there,
a
boy.
phone?
Why are you going to bring something out when I said I didn't want the most expensive one?
Right.
Teasing
He's a
me
typical
like
salesperson.
that.
Typical salesperson.
I don't need 3 cameras. I do
Right.
need extended battery life, though. I'm just saying.
What do those cameras do? Why do you need 3 cameras? I mean,
The heck if I know.
Jeez, what do those 2
I
cameras
could've-
do?
When I took a picture of Marley, I literally saw the boogers up her nose. So it is a good
Jeez.
camera.
Well, I
just
bet it
the
is.
2.
I've seen them on that phone. It's amazing. It takes amazing pictures. and
I
video.
don't like it.
It's incredible. They're not even
I don't
phones.
like
They're
it.
not even phones anymore. Phone is a secondary function of these things.
I think I made maybe 3-4 calls on it. Tim
Right.
and my mom.
Right.
I don't even think kids have even. They text me now. They don't even call anymore. It's
Right.
like whatever. My
Right.
mom and Tim. That's who I talk to.
Remember at the Harvest Festival, they were talking about something about cell phones.
That
They
dude
asked-
come over
Remember?
the 2
yeah.
flips?
Tell Derek about that.
I want the flip phone. This cat walks up. He's got 2 flip phones in hand, flipped up. He's and he is.
But why did he do the flip phone thing?
Because they were giving out an iPhone 11.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
right,
and they're like, I
yeah.
bet nobody out there's got a flip phone, and this cat goes,
He's got 2 of
I got
them. Right.
2
Still working.
phones, one for you, whatever.
Still working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still working. That was his main phones.
They say, I bet you don't get internet on that, but truth be told, you do. The problem with those flip phones is this. When you hit A and you accidentally forget you hit B, you got to start all over again. By
Right.
the time you realize you're back at A, you done skipped A and went to B again, so you got to start all
Oh,
over
yeah,
again.
that's
So hey,
right.
hey will take you about 20 minutes to text,
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. But if you become
especially if
good
you're
at
ADD,
it,
like me.
if you become good at it, you can really, really get fast with it, though.
Yeah, but it's like, it's okay,
I was
'cause you
never
got
that
3
good.
Yeah.
Right.
I would never
Right.
send text messages back in the
Oh,
day. I'd be
no.
Right.
like, someone text me, I'd be like, click, sup, dog.
That's me too. Me too. Why?
I could never find out how to backspace the dumb things. I was always trying to find where the backspace button was.
It's all right. I
always
never
hard to
really
find.
had a rotary phone, but on Aliens in the Attic, I totally get those kids feeling on it,
Right. I remember the rotary
and
phones.
it just takes forever. And it's like
Yes,
that's
it does.
what a flip phone text messaging is about.
That's
It
what made
takes forever.
when I was a kid. That's what made it fun going to my grandma's house because she still had a rotary phone. I was like, hey,
Yes.
Grandma, can I use your phone? You just want to dial a number? Uh-huh.
What
Right.
number did you dial?
My dad's number. Hey, Dad. Why are you calling? I just left 15 minutes ago. I just want to say hi. You just want to use your grandma's phone. Uh-huh.
I remember when the rotary phones were in the hall. They were in a grandma's hall. You remember that? They had like a little hutch in the hall, and the
Tim's
phone was in there.
mom's got one of those in her hall. It's so
Yes.
cute. I love
Wow.
that little
Is it
hall.
still in there
but
now?
Yes. It's not. She don't have a rotary in it. She's got a cordless phone, but
Right.
she is still repping the hall hutch.
That's amazing. Yes,
I love it.
And did
Little
her,
built-in.
did her hall have the furnace on the floor? Like you step
No,
over?
she don't. She might have, but she don't.
Okay,
have
or
it
on the
now.
ceiling.
I don't. Mine did though. Mine had one on the floor, and we were scared to death to cross it. That thing was bigger
Right.
than
I
this
burnt my
table.
feet so many times in that
Oh,
furnace.
just cross across. It's not gonna hurt you. There is a booger man up in there. I ain't crossing
right,
that. He
right.
might eat me.
Right. I
Oh,
know.
we was scared to death of that.
Yep. You
Remember
look
that, Jenny? Never mind.
She does. She just wasn't listening.
She'd be like, "Come across." No.
Yep.
It's
Those
gonna
were some good
kill
times
us.
growing up. Yeah, the rotary
And then you
phones.
get your
Yes.
toe stuck in it.
I never got my toe stuck in it, but I got burnt quite a few times. I had a grid mark on my feet a bunch of times.
Oh,
like,
I got my finger stuck in an air conditioner vent in my mom and dad's trailer. And
what
I'll
were
tell
you doing sticking your finger in the air
I
conditioner
have no
vent?
clue. But whatever I did,
Wow.
I didn't do it again after the fact. I still have a mark from it.
Yes.
I was stupid.
Wow.
I stuck a key in a socket too. So
We've all done that before, yes.
have we
And
really?
hopefully just once.
It took